Tracy McGrady versus Carmelo Anthony. Who is the better player? And did either one deserve to make it to the Hall of Fame? Now, I thought about this topic. It's been floating around for a minute. It was mainly big back when Carmelo made the Hall of Fame a couple years ago. A lot of people was questioning did he deserve to make it to the Hall of Fame because of his NBA career, but based on what he did for the Olympics and him winning a title in college, people felt like it was warranted for him to make the Hall of Fame because it's not the NBA Hall of Fame, it's actually the Basketball Hall of Fame. So it take into account what you did for Team USA, um, and what you did in college. So given that, a lot of people feel like he should have made it. But if it was strictly based off his NBA career, there was real questions on, and a lot of people felt that he shouldn't have made the Hall of Fame. The only time it was this controversial was before when it was Tracy McGrady, who a lot of people, me being included, feeling like Tracy McGrady shouldn't have made the Hall of Fame. He didn't do enough to make the Hall of Fame, based on, of course, him not winning anything, him not winning no MVPs, getting out the first round in his prime, no championships, etc. So that was always a questionable one for me. But when we look at these two players, not only is it a question on did both deserve to make the Hall of Fame, it's also the question on who's the better player. And these is two players that we could actually compare to each other because they have a lot of similarities. Like they both of them being roughly around the same height and weight. Carmelo listed as 6'7", 6'8", and Tracy McGrady listed as 6'8". The big difference is that Carmelo Anthony, during his playing career, always played in between 230 and 240, whereas T-Mac played anywhere from 210 to 225. And you could see that Carmelo was always carried more weight than Tracy McGrady did. And that's not even only similarity between the two. We know both are known as score first players, two of the greatest scorers in NBA history. That's another similarity. They even have similarities so much that both are actually Geminis, born not too far apart from each other. His size, he was able to get on the block and post people up and really make it hard for people to guard him. Even Kobe said this himself that Carmelo was the hardest player that he had to guard because he had the height with the size, so he'll really put his arm into you, put his body into you, and it was really hard to stop. Tracy McGrady was really could really do everything on the court. Had a great jump shot, could go to the rim, had a nice three-pointer, and we know that Tracy McGrady could get hot, more hotter than almost anybody, and we seen that with his 13, the classic 13 points in 33 or 13 points in 35 seconds to be exact. So we know that that's one of the craziest moments in NBA history, and given it was against the championship Spurs. So we know that Tracy McGrady definitely could do everything offensively. So how I like to always say how to rank players and how I always like to rank players is resume and the eye test. That's really how we rank players because we don't always leave it up to the resume because there's certain players who might have this player might have a championship, this player might not have a championship. So we know it's not as black and white when it comes to resume. That's why we also use the eye test, the skill level. Okay, when I watch these two players, who is better? And that's why the conversation always go back and forth like with the Kobe LeBron debate because their resumes is similar, but a lot of people feel like the eye test is given to Kobe, even though LeBron might have the slightly better resume. So that's really how it comes down to how we rank players. It's the resume and the eye test. So first, One is subjective and one, I mean, it's kind of facts. The resume is the resume. So we gonna start with the resume, Tracy McGrady versus Carmelo Anthony, and determine who has the better resume. So Tracy McGrady played 16 seasons. Carmelo Anthony played 19 seasons. We both know neither one won the championship. Carmelo made the playoffs 13 times. Tracy McGrady made the playoffs 9 times. Carmelo was a 10-time All-Star. Tracy McGrady was a 7-time All-Star. Now, all NBA first team, Tracy McGrady made it to two. Carmelo didn't make it to none. And then the all NBA selections total, so that's including second and third team. Carmelo has six to Tracy McGrady seven. When it comes to scoring titles, Carmelo had one, Tracy McGrady had two. And their points per game for the regular season, we had Carmelo had averaged 22.5, Tracy McGrady averaged 19.6. So almost 20 points per game. Rebounds, Carmelo averaged 6.2, Tracy McGrady averaged 5.6. Assists, Carmelo averaged 2.7, Tracy McGrady averaged 4.4. Steals, Carmelo Anthony averaged one steal a game. Tracy McGrady averaged 1.2, about the same. Blocks per game, Melo blocked that averaged a half block. Tracy McGrady was 0.9, so basically a block per game. So, and for their career stats, Carmelo finished his career with 28,000 points. Tracy McGrady finished his career with 18,000 points. Carmelo finished his career with 7,000 rebounds to Tracy McGrady 5,000 rebounds. Carmelo finished his career with 3,000 assists. Tracy McGrady finished his career with 4,000 assists. Total steals, Carmelo had 1,200. Tracy McGrady had 1,100. Total blocks, Carmelo had 644. Tracy McGrady had 807. And then Tracy Carmelo Anthony played 1,260 games compared to Tracy McGrady 938 games. So Carmelo, of course, played slightly longer than Tracy McGrady did. Well, 3 seasons more. So you could look at that two ways. You could look at as Carmelo had the longer career because he was able to sustain longer, or you could say that the stats is kind of skewed because Tracy McGrady didn't get to play as long. But that that can be looked at both ways. Now, field goal percentage, which I know a lot of people love to use, Carmelo actually shot a better field goal percentage than Tracy McGrady slightly. Carmelo was 44%. Tracy McGrady was 43%. 3-point percentage, Carmelo was 35%. Tracy McGrady was 33%. Free throw percentage, Carmelo was 81%. Tracy McGrady was 74%. I would have thought Tracy McGrady would have been in the 80s or higher than that. So their best season, Carmelo best season scoring wise was 2007 when he averaged 28.9. Tracy McGrady best scoring season was 2003, averaged 13.1, 32.1. Carmelo best rebounding season was 2014. He averaged 8.1 rebounds. Tracy McGrady 2002 season, he averaged 7.1, 7.9 rebounds. Assists, Carmelo best season was 4.2. Tracy McGrady best season was 6.5. Steals, Carmelo best season, he averaged 1.3 in 2010. Tracy McGrady averaged 1.7 in 2005. And blocks, 2022 for Carmelo Anthony averaged almost a block per game, and then 2000 Tracy McGrady almost averaged 2 blocks. Now, lastly, the playoff stats, because we know the playoffs matter. Carmelo averaged 23 points in the playoffs per game. Tracy McGrady slightly under that with 22 points per game. Rebounds, Carmelo averaged 6.7. Tracy McGrady averaged 5.7. Assists, Carmelo Anthony averaged 2.5. Tracy McGrady averaged 5 assists. Steals, Carmelo averaged 1.2. Tracy McGrady averaged 1.1. Blocks, Carmelo averaged 0.3. Tracy McGrady averaged 0.9. So, and then their field goal percentage in the playoffs, Carmelo's was 41%, Tracy McGrady's was 42%, 3-point percentage. Carmelo shot 32%, Tracy McGrady shot 29%, free throw percentage. Carmelo shot 82%, Tracy McGrady shot 75%. And then we can leave out the best playoffs. But so looking at it, you can see that everything when it comes to the two is pretty close from their points per game to their steals to their blocks per game. The only major difference is that what this shows us is that Carmelo Anthony was definitely a better free throw shooter than Tracy McGrady, and Tracy McGrady was a better was a better passer than Carmelo Anthony because in the regular season and the playoffs, Tracy McGrady averaged 2 to 3 more assists than Carmelo did. But when it came to rebounds, Carmelo is actually a slightly better rebounder than Tracy McGrady is, given the fact that he played power forward sometimes and he was able to get down on the block um and play power forward, which of course would get a rebound. So looking at it, everything is close. The big thing that Tracy McGrady got is the two all NBA first teams to Carmelo none. And he has two scoring titles over Carmelo one. The thing that Carmelo has is that he did average more points, rebounds per game than Tracy McGrady did in the regular season and in the playoffs. He also finished with better career numbers because he played longer. So resume wise, it's real close. That's why I say everything is real close because you look at the one more scoring title. NBA first teams, of course, hold a lot of weight, but when it comes to averages and stats, it really was Carmelo because Carmelo even shot better from the field than Tracy McGrady did and shot better from the three-point range. And then, of course, he was way better free throw shooter. So I have to get a slight edge to Carmelo when it comes to overall resume, even though it's real close when it comes to the resumes. Now, the big difference for me comes when we start talking about each one of their skill set and their in the eye test. So for me, I have to get out if I was that's another thing is we look at the eye test or who will we draft if we were starting a team. Basically, is how we look at it. So if I was starting a team and who I think is better skill wise in using the eye test, I have to also give it to Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony, for one, it has to play a role in one of the big deciding factors is, of course, injury history. We know that Tracy McGrady had a history of getting injured a lot. We know that Tracy McGrady missed a lot of games. That was the big thing when it came to Tracy McGrady is that he was never healthy. Carmelo, for the most part, stayed healthy. He did. I know when Linsanity happened, Carmelo was injured for a while, but for the most part, Carmelo wasn't never known as being injury prone like Tracy McGrady is. Who Tracy McGrady never played a full 82 game season, and he missed 139 games during his career with major knee injury leading to surgery in 2009. So, and then he missed 18 games in 2008, 2009, 16 games in 2007, 2008. He missed significant time in 2005, 2006. So we know that Tracy McGrady did have a lot of problems with injury, and we do have to factor that in. It just is what it is. We can't say, what if this person wasn't injury prone? They is. That's kind of just what it is. So that alone gives Carmelo the edge over Tracy McGrady. The simple fact that he was more healthy than Tracy McGrady was. Now, when it comes to strictly game, Carmelo both of them as dynamic scores. I give Carmelo game a slight edge because, like I said, Carmelo can post you up, can jab. Even though I do think that Tracy McGrady game kind of looked better. He was more athletic, definitely for sure, than Carmelo was. So that's a big thing that you trade off with the size. You trade off athleticism. So, Tracy McGrady could jump out the gym, but overall just pull up, shoot. I mean, it could go really either way. It just depends on if you want Carmelo being able to post up more, post up his defenders, or if you want Tracy McGrady athleticism. Um, I mean, it's really a tie for me if you made me have to choose which one I would really prefer. Um, I might actually go with Tracy. I might actually give Tracy McGrady a slight edge because the fact that he can also get hot. And I've seen him get hotter than I have seen Carmelo get hot. And I think he just got more of an overall bag than um than Carmelo do. So so overall, when we end up breaking it down and looking at it, who is the better player? I have to give it to Carmelo Anthony. It's very close. These two players, two of the greatest scorers ever. A lot of similarities the two, but the fact of injury history and the fact that Carmelo, um, I prefer Carmelo career slightly more. If I had to choose between the two, I would definitely choose Carmelo, and I feel that he has the slightly better resume. Now, of course, if Tracy McGrady didn't have injury history, if he played longer, then maybe that could have changed things. Oh, and then another thing, of course, Carmelo at least went deep in the playoffs. We know that Carmelo made it to a Western Conference Finals with Allen Iverson. He just ran into Kobe that year. When Kobe was going on his three finals in a row run. So it's no shame against that. So Carmelo was actually able to get further in the playoffs. We know Tracy McGrady always was said that he couldn't get out the first round. He gave up a 3-1 lead. So even from that standpoint, I got to give it to Carmelo. So it's definitely Carmelo. It's definitely the better player to me. I think that he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame more so than Tracy McGrady do. I don't think Tracy McGrady should have made it to the Hall of Fame. I said that when it happened, like he's a great player. He deserved recognition, but he no MVPs, no rings, didn't even make it to a finals. We can't put you in the Hall of Fame just because people like you. And I'm out.